What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Practically Reality Podcast. My name is Garrett, also known as Garett the Gamer, and I am here with my good buddy Declan this week to talk about some gaming and tech news. A lot of interesting stuff has happened this week, but this episode, guys, is going to be a little bit more casual. We definitely want to interact a lot more with the audience, so if you're here at the live stream, please drop questions. We're going to be asking for a lot of feedback and stuff today. So get involved. This podcast goes live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And if you don't catch us live, you can always catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music. So if you don't catch us live, catch the podcast there. Anyway, what's up, Declan?
What's up? How's it going?
Oh, dude, I'm good. It's been kind of a cool week. Been a cool week. Lots of fun stuff happening with sale right now that I'm actually really excited about. We just tested something this morning.
Peek.
Oh, I don't even know how I'd share a sneak peek, but we were testing something this morning as the devs that I think the community is gonna love. So I'm excited about that. Got some
Find
cool
a teaser,
stuff.
a little shout out, a little teaser. Come on.
I don't know how to share it. That's the problem. I shared a bunch of stuff on the Discord, the CellVR Discord. So if you're not a part of that Discord, go check it out. But we got some fun stuff planned here, guys. That's coming soon. So excited about that. But
Dude, I'm excited to see it.
It'll be fun. What have you been up to?
Man, just doing a lot of different stuff. I took a fun class yesterday. It's been a while since I've taken a class. There's a really cool engine. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Wonderland Engine before. It is a WebXR specific engine. And to cover the nerdy thing of what it does, basically they took an engine and created it specifically for rendering 3D on the web.
Wow.
So instead of it being written in JavaScript, it's written in C++ and compiles directly to WebAssembly. So it's way more powerful. And they have created some awesome web VR games. You should check out, if you haven't heard of it before or want to learn more about games that are available with it, go to heyvr.io inside of your VR headset. And there's a ton of web VR games that they've created that are, to me, it's like a lot of the actual apps that are out there, they've been able to recreate on the web. Free games. I think it's really cool. That's the kind of stuff that I really want to work on. So I'm thinking about making a VR game for the web soon using their engine. But I took a class in how to do multiplayer networking for the web VR. Yeah, dude, it was pretty dope. Yeah.
That's funny that you mentioned that, though, because actually the networking solution we use for both hard drive and Sail, it's called Normcore. They've been pushing WebXR stuff really hard as well. So I'm assuming there must be some kind of trend there as well. Yeah.
So Web 3D is just growing like crazy right now, man. I don't know if you knew how big the Flash game industry was back when we were younger, but it was a multi-billion-dollar industry. And with all these 3D game engines coming out to the web again, people are hoping there's going to be a Flash game uprising 2.0 again with what's possible now. So I'm stoked for that. That'd be so much fun.
It would be interesting to see Flash games with the component of networking, because I remember Flash games were usually these single player games that there were some great ones, dude. I played this one that was called Raze. Did you ever play Raze? Oh, it was just a wave shooter where the enemies would slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you would just have different weapons, and it was a stick figure side scroller wave shooter. Okay, it was fantastic. I freaking loved that game. So, but I wonder now with the advent of multiplayer being so prominent, gonna be cool. I could definitely see that resurging. Especially we're in the age of free to play games.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
I can totally see WebXR and stuff bringing that stuff up. So that's
I
cool.
want to play free games on the web right now. I actually am thinking about a couple of different ideas that I have to build out free content that's using advertising to monetize it on the web. One is an interesting concept, I think, but it would be deployable on a mobile phone for AR, a VR headset, and a desktop. And it'd be something that you could interact with on all three platforms. So I'm trying to research that right now, but it's just really cool that is becoming a possibility again. So I released a Flappy Bird clone in 3D and an Infinite Runner game in 3D using the Niantic Studio game engine, and I really want to make a Bullet Heaven, kind of like Vampire Survivors,
Ah,
but for the web. That's one of the games that I really like, genre of video game that I have been falling in love with like crazy. Swarm was a League of Legends version that they made in the League of Legends
right.
editor, and it was a blast. I played it for hours while it was available on the League client, and like I don't know, it'd be fun to figure out how to make save data possible, how to get save data on the web, and then have a progressive roguelike bullet heaven swarm shooter type thing. That would be so dope.
I mean,
So
surely if Google can know every single website we've ever clicked on,
that's
like,
true.
there's got to be some way we can store some local save file stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
With
come on.
cookies.
Yeah, a little bit of cookie stuff. That'd be interesting. That's like a whole interesting new development in the game industry is this new accessibility that's been happening with WebXR. Really cool.
Yeah.
You have to keep me updated on that. I actually had Wonderland reach out to me right before GDC this year, and they wanted to meet up. But I ended up falling through with the appointment because I was just like, I was so busy with other stuff, and I was like,
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderland's not as high up on my priority list as a VR dev, so didn't get a chance to talk to them. But I have heard of them, and kind of an interesting, definitely an interesting offering for sure.
It's so cool, so powerful. Like, to me, it opens up so many different doors. So if you guys have VR headsets and you want to find some free games to play over the next little bit, which, I mean, who doesn't, right?
For real.
Just go to HeyVR, so HeyVR.io, and there's a web game VR game shop, or I guess game website that you can just play a bunch of free games. So check
just
it out.
feels
Let
like-
us know if you do.
Yeah, please just let us know if you guys check that out. But that just feels so Flash games, dude. Because you'd go to like
For sure.
mathgames.com or whatever. Play a
Yeah,
bunch of
the
games.
cool math games, dude. I
Cool
play
math
that
games.
so much.
Oh, it was the best. That's like what invented what was it, like Geography Dash or what was it called? Oh, there's so many good ones from that. That's crazy.
Oh, Geometry Dash. Yeah.
Like I don't know. That'll be cool. I know several developers who like got their start on Flash games. So that's cool to
Yeah,
know that
for
there's
sure.
some more
Do you
stuff.
know one of my favorite game developers actually got his start in Flash games, and it's really cool to see like where he's gone. What's his name? Thomas Brush. He was a Flash game
Brush,
developer.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
So I just want to make like not even VR or AR games right now. Like, I'm in such this mood to just make video games and I don't know, just do some crazy like just game. I don't know. It's just such a fun thing to do again. It's been so long since I've worked on a project like that.
I swear at least once a week in the comment section I get somebody asking me, "Hey, are you ever going to make a non-VR game?" And like the answer is probably yes, but I just know VR so well, you know?
Yeah.
But I have several non-VR games that I would like to develop, but I have yet to see tools to enable what I want to do. But we'll have to save that for another time. We've got some good questions in the chat so far. I want to talk about a few of these.
For sure.
Arlen of the Arc Reactor asked, XR question / opinion. If Batman is a hit and the Meta Plus subscription service is a very smart choice for XR noobs, and the following AAA titles are also hits, if all those are checked, could XR go mainstream? Oh, so he's asking like the age-old question: what is it gonna take to take
For XR
mainstream? I have a good feeling about this holiday season, dude. I really do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons for it. The Quest, I am very impressed with the Quest 3. I got mine coming in a week. I'm really excited.
Sweet.
It's gonna show up and I'll be able to. I'm probably gonna do a live stream when I unbox it and play sale on it.
Oh, for sure.
I'm gonna
You
do
have to.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But the accessibility of that, and also just like the state of the store right now, it's never been a better time to get into AR. And like to Arlen of the Arc Reactor's question, like the Batman game is a huge selling point. Like we now have a Batman game, we've got an Assassin's Creed game, we've got basically Call of Duty, in the sense of like contractors and contractor showdown. We've got basically Halo. Like we have a version of every single popular game that has ever existed. The store is in an amazing spot. So
For sure.
I truly think we could see the Quest 3S being one of the top selling devices this holiday season. Would not surprise me in the slightest.
I think yeah, I mean, like you said, if you haven't watched Thrill Seeker's video about it all, it's an interesting video talking about how Meta is having its iPhone moment finally, where
Great
like
video.
everything
Definitely
is
go check it
seeming
out.
to follow back and fall into place. Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's very true. I still don't know. I mean, it'll be hard to be mainstream, I think, because VR is still going to be a video game console,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of what it is. But I don't know. I feel like the younger generations are picking it up more, and it has potential to, yeah, just keep growing. I don't know. It's such a weird. We keep saying this. I said that with the Quest 1,
Yeah.
but it feels more realistic this time. I've been talking to a lot of people about XR lately. Because I like not having a full time job or anything like that. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do. If I want to try and get into something else and go into a different industry, but I've been very optimistic the last couple months because it feels like, was it 2 or 3 years ago, XR was like the hype thing. The metaverse was this hype thing,
For sure.
and then it died, right? All the
Yep.
hype died, but it stayed consistent, and it feels like things are starting to pick up, not from a hypey perspective, but from like a real natural growth perspective. Things in the industry are picking up again, and that is super, I guess, awesome. It's crazy to think that we survived the hype stage, and I think that it's just going to be like real natural growth now. I'm really excited about it, honestly.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, Thrill Seeker also did a video on this that I thought was incredible. He talks about there's this like known graph basically of like the adoption of new products, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like you've got your early adopters, and then it goes into kind of more mainstream, and then like mainstream is like the last thing that is on like this little graph. And
yeah,
he showed another one that the graph said something like there's the hype curve, and then it dies off after the hype curve, and then it slowly grows based off of like the actual use cases. And I feel like that's exactly what's happened with the XR industry. We had the hype where billions of dollars were invested into anyone and everyone that said,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm building metaverse XYZ," right?
Hmm.
But now the people who survived that are the people who actually figured out this is the use case for VR and XR that's going to
Yeah,
last. And with that, we're building an audience, we're building useful use cases, fun games, and everything that take advantage of the hardware, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, like, I don't think we're ever going to have this, like, oh, tomorrow everyone's going to go out and buy a headset. No, I think
for
over
sure.
time, it's going to gradually be like, oh, yeah, you have an Xbox, a PlayStation, and a Quest in your house. That's just going to be kind of more the norm. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to a fun conference next week, a convention, which is one of my favorite ones to go to, actually.
Which one
It's
is it again?
called the Augmented Enterprise Summit. It's in
Oh, cool.
Dallas. It's enterprise uses for XR, and it's really well attended. And it's pretty crazy to see how many big companies are invested in XR still
Yeah,
for like training. And I just feel like there are so many proven use cases now that it is just going to continue to grow. Like video games have been proven, marketing has been proven, training has been proven, like therapy has been true. There's just so many things that have withstood the test of the crash of the market.
yep,
I feel like it's been, scary at times to be
for
stuck in
sure.
it and like hanging out in there. Like I haven't had a job in almost a year, but it's like starting to pay off. Like I don't know, it's really really exciting. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like, the the thing that I keep telling people is like, look, if you can figure it out on the hardware that exists today, you're gonna be okay on the hardware that exists tomorrow. And I feel like one of the big things that everyone talks about is like, oh, the graphics aren't that great. We don't have this, that, and the other. But the fact of the matter is we figured it out with what we have right now. That means
yeah,
that as the hardware gets better, it's only going to be better, right? So
yeah. And I really think we got like an even cool look into the future with the Orion stuff. Like it's not there yet, right? It's not realistic, but this is the first time that we've really had a look into it.
yeah,
We've been talking about it forever,
yeah.
but nobody's actually been able to give us a sneak peek. So that's really promising too.
Yeah, and lots of videos have come out lately or in the last week or so of people who actually got to hands-on demo it, and
Yeah.
they are, like, people are going nuts. Like this is, if I had to say when will XR go mainstream, it's when something like that hits consumer level, because
Yeah.
that to me is the next. Honestly, I feel like that's gonna be the bridge between like phones and VR, is having those
For sure.
AR glasses where people are like, hey, this is actually super useful. What else is there? And then they'll go like full dive into VR and stuff like that. Not
sure.
full dive, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but
I think, I mean, I'm excited for a day and age when everybody gets on a plane and puts on their VR headset and like chills out. My parents flew to Greece this week, and
yo,
yeah, just like, can you imagine just getting on a plane and putting on your thing and making a cross world flight in 15 hours feel like absolutely nothing.
yep.
I will say though, I was talking to Garrett about this last week. I spoke at a conference in VR, and the freaking normal straps that the Quest 3 comes with sucked.
Hot
I was in so much pain after just using it for an hour and a half with like my face and everything. It's been a while since I've been in a VR headset for that like long of an extended period. It's not comfortable. So
No.
it'll be fun to see how many aftermarket companies have stuck around and start having success with like, I don't know, straps and stuff. Because if you think of all the like the phone case companies, it's crazy how many there are and how
Yeah.
many are successful.
Yeah,
So it'd be cool to see all that stuff for
I can
aftermarket.
currently recommend two companies right now that I
Yeah.
have worked with. I like both of them a lot. There's the Bobo VR head strap, which they make the Halo one. That's the one that's on my device. And
Yeah.
then Kiwi Design, also a fantastic company. I work closely with them. I actually have a discount code if anyone wants to buy stuff from Kiwi Design. If you check the description of any of my other videos, I have like I think it's a 10% off code, 5 to 10%. Anyway, super fun. But so if you guys are looking for that, someone was actually asking. They just bought his name was Waffles. He said he just bought the 512 gigabyte MetaQuest 3. Nice. What are the best gun games for it? Free mostly for my broke. All right,
Yeah.
so free game recommendations. One of the best ones I can recommend as far as guns games go. What is it called? Dash. What is that? Hyper Dash. Hyper Dash is a fantastic free to play gun game. Highly recommend. Geez, what are some of the other ones I've been playing lately? Gun wise. Gun Raiders. Can't go wrong with Gun Raiders. That's got like Battle Royale mode. It's got TDM modes and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Very arcadey though.
Isn't Pop 1 free now?
Population 1 is free now. Also very arcadey, but definitely a good time. It's that one's definitely a Battle Royale though as well. Pretty good fun there. Geez, shooting games. If you're gonna spend money, you can't go wrong with Contractors. Contractors has such good gameplay, such good mods. Like, you can play that game forever. Tons of fun. Can't go wrong with that. And then I also really enjoy the same company that did Hyperdash also released a game that's basically Rainbow Six Siege in VR, and it's called Breachers. Tons of fun. Was playing that last night actually. Super good. Someone's at Star Studs is asking if Veil a good shooter. I don't mind Veil. It kind of feels like Halo 3 style gunplay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I feel like they are a little high priced for what they offer personally. But still a good game. Great team making it.
Somebody's saying AIM XR. I don't know what that is, but
I have never tried AIM XR, so I can't. I'm neither here nor there on that. Pavlov is also fun.
For real, what I said, Hey VR, if you go there, there's archery games. I think those are the ones that the team at Wonderland made themselves. They've made like 2 or 3 archery games that are available on heyvr.io. They're free. And from what I saw from like a playthrough, there's a couple of levels for each one. Like, it's not a short experience by any means. It looks like a lot of fun. So check those out too.
Yeah. Hey, another great question for you, Declan, actually from the chat. Arlen of the Arc Reactor is asking, is Microsoft doing anything with XR?
Yeah, so I think they've officially shut down the HoloLens, right?
That's right.
I don't know what they have going on in the background, but I'm sure they do. I'm pretty sure there are companies working in more areas of XR than we understand. Like Google, I know, has signed an agreement with Magic Leap. So like Google's working on stuff in the background. I just feel like all these companies that are big tech companies have to be working on something. I don't foresee any of them completely jumping out of it with the new what is it called? The Horizon operating system.
Yeah.
I feel like there are companies that probably had VR headsets in the past that have stepped away from it for a while that are probably going to be making stuff again. At one point, I feel like I heard Samsung was working on another VR headset again.
That's one of those rumors that's been floating around for a while, and I don't know. I've talked about that with a lot of people within my reach in the VR community because, I know some of the bigger VR developers, and I've asked them like, has anyone reached out? And they've all said no. Like, so I don't know if they do have something in the works that's not ready even for devs to start testing. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like everybody is working on something. It's just one of those things. All those companies that make like games and tech, and I feel like it's a hard sell to not be in there. If everybody makes a freaking cell phone, then I'm sure most people are going to make a VR headset at some point.
Yeah, like at one point there was like a Windows phone, and there was a all kinds of crazy stuff. But
we just got a question from Jovi Bro. What is XR? So XR is anything that is not real reality. I made a video on this. If you go to my YouTube channel, which is underneath my name, basically it's augmented reality, augmented virtuality, and virtual reality. So anything that is not just real reality but uses digital content to supplement or replace the real reality around us, that is what we would consider XR. So it's the entire industry. It's just an umbrella term for everything.
Yep. Someone's asking if we've ever heard of a game called Ready or Not. Is that the breaching game where you basically play FBI? I think that's what it is. There's actually a VR game like that. If this is the game that I'm thinking of, I've heard of it, but there's actually a VR version of it called Tactical Assault VR. It is so fun. That is a fantastic. It's both multiplayer and single player. Tons of fun. Would highly recommend.
Tactical shooter.
Yeah, it's the one I'm thinking of. It's like I think you just play like as FBI breachers. Basically, you have to clear rooms. It's like a very much tactical. That's a cool game concept. Don't mind that.
I feel like there's so many more realistic style video games that have come out over the last little bit, and like some of them have obviously been really successful and cool, like Tarkov.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just such a niche market though in the video game world. Obviously there are people that play it and there are people that really enjoy it, but that kind of stuff is so hard for me to like get into personally. I feel like it is like a very specific group of people that really love those types of games.
Yeah, it's definitely not like it's not a mainstream thing, but I've never personally played Tarkov, but there's the VR knockoff of it called Ghosts of Tabor.
Yeah.
Which I will say, I feel like those more hardcore like simulation games work so much better in virtual reality, just because there's so much more you can add to it.
For sure.
Like I said, like that Ready or Not game, which is very much like a realistic shooter, there's a VR version of it, and it is so fun. Because, like there is something to like actually sweeping a room, feeling like you have a rifle in your hand compared to like flat screen gaming of it. And like, physically being able to like duck out of the way of bullets and what, like, it's crazy. That's a great game.
Yeah.
But
I play video games because I like it for the escapism,
Sure.
I don't want to play something that's like, I love the cartooniness. I play so many indie games, there was another question about Game of the Year. I'm super excited to chat a little bit about that. But I play because I want to do things in a video game that aren't realistic in real life.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I read books. That's why I consume a lot of the media that I consume. That when I do have free time to play, I'm just not super into doing something that's like a hardcore simulation, except for the video game that I played all weekend. I opened up a trading card store in a trading card simulator and sold Pokemon cards all weekend
Let's
in my
go.
video game that I was playing.
That
It
sounds
was a ton
fun.
of fun. It was pretty weird. I probably opened like, I don't know, 1,200 packs of fake Pokemon cards, but it was so much fun.
But like to your point though, and that is in a sense like a little bit of escapism because like if you were to actually
Yeah.
buy 1,200 packs of Pokemon cards in real life, you'd be broke AF, right?
Oh yeah.
Like that, even that is just such a great thing that you can do in a video game you can't do in real life. So
Yeah, I think that game is a ton of fun. I think it's called Trading Card Shop Simulator, or something like that. But you basically just buy a store, and then they have a bunch of fake Pokemon cards, and you can open them up and resell the better cards. So I bought the whole game for $15. Played it, definitely got my money's worth already, I feel like,
nice.
and it hits that same itch of like opening Pokemon cards in the real world because you get these Pokemon cards that you then value at like I think the most I sold a card for in the video game was like $2,000. So it was super exciting when I opened up that pack and I found a fake Pokemon card that was worth $2,000 and resold it in the game. So it's definitely got that same hit, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that, and like obviously much cheaper than actually going out and buying
Yes.
the same things. Oh, that's funny, dude. Chat is wondering what kind of games in VR would you recommend that would make you feel like a SWAT team? Number one, the number one that I can recommend to you guys is Breachers VR. That is again like the closest comparison I can make to it is Rainbow Six Siege, but it's even simpler than that. Super fun game, highly competitive, lot of skill based to it, a lot of fun. You feel like a SWAT team if you play with the right people. The other one that I mentioned, Tactical Assault VR, definitely a lot of fun, that game. Those are the two that I could recommend right here and now that I can think of that are super fun to do exactly that itch. So there you go, Monster Batman. There's some VR SWAT game recommendations for you.
Do you want to talk about Game of the Year stuff right now since we kind of touched on it a little bit?
Let's talk through it. So Game of the Year goes live December 15th, I believe.
Okay.
But we don't know any of the nominations yet, do we?
No.
Okay.
There's just some front runners and stuff. I was looking at a bunch of articles today, what other people have said about good games.
I'm kind of curious because I've noticed. I actually was looking into this a lot this last year because I was looking at how is it decided, and the actual decision process is kind of messed up because
I'm sure, yeah.
the community vote only makes for 5% of what's actually becomes Game of the Year, which feels
That's so lame.
Feels very backwards to me because the way that a game has to be nominated for Game of the Year is through these published news companies who obviously are very opinionated, paid off in a lot of ways. In some ways, you know, they. Now I'm not saying like I'm not going after those guys in any way. I'm just saying that, you know, like as a news company, you are paid to say certain things sometimes, right?
100%.
And so I very much feel that sometimes like skews a proper review of a game, you know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like the thing that was the most baffling as I looked into it is that 5% of the actual decision is up to the community, which is basically negligible because the rest of it is decided by this committee and like basically these paid people. So yeah, I was kind of sad like looking into that because I feel like there should be like a community vote one. I'd be curious.
Sure.
I'd be curious to see like this is the community vote. This is the actual vote.
Which Game of the Year award were you looking at?
I thought it was is there only one? There's the Game of the Year awards. There's more than one?
Well, there's multiple. Oh yeah, there's the Game Awards.
Oh, maybe I was looking at a different one.
The Game Awards do one. There's multiple companies that do. There's the Golden Joystick, the South by Southwest Gaming. I like the Game Awards.
I was looking at the Game Awards.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, Steam has their Game of the Year, which to me is like usually a really good representation too, because I feel
I
like that's
agree.
more community driven.
For sure.
Yeah, the BAFTA video games. That one is a more prestigious one. It's a little bit older, I think, than the Game Awards. Game Awards started in like 2014, whereas the BAFTA, I don't remember when it started actually. Oh, the BAFTAs have been going on since since 1949. Obviously, they added in video games later, but it's a more prestigious like award thing. So I'm sure there's even more sway by media and pockets for that one
Yeah.
than there is for the Game Awards.
Yeah, someone brought up the XR awards,
Okay.
and I should probably keep my mouth shut about them because I have strong opinions. But yeah, I'll just say that the XR awards is not as community driven as you would think.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Did you look at the past Game Awards winners?
Yes, and I don't know if I agree. So I'm looking at the
Really?
Game Awards. So last year,
Yeah,
Baldur's
I'm looking
Gate
at those
3
too.
won, right?
Obviously. I feel like there was not competition for Baldur's Gate 3.
Last year,
I feel like it had to have been.
Yeah, last year I made a post about this actually. I literally said like I didn't think the Game Awards last year were even worthwhile because it was like first off, Baldur's Gate 3. Like it's a sequel to a sequel, you know? While it's a very different game, I understand that. It was just kind of sad that it's like, wow, nothing original ended up on here. You know,
Yeah. I love Larian Studios. I love what they've done with some of their other titles. I'm a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan,
yeah, that makes
and
sense.
to me, Baldur's Gate 3 was. I mean, Divinity was their other game that's similar to Baldur's Gate 3, and Baldur's Gate 3 Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 have very different mechanics. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the, if not the best interpretation of a Dungeons and Dragons game inside of a video game. Even like the Dungeons and Dragons IP that they've put into games isn't as good as the way that Baldur's Gate 3 handled it. Which Baldur's Gate is a Dungeons and Dragons IP.
Right.
Baldur's Gate is a location in the Dungeons and Dragons world, so I just feel like it was so well done, and the amount of options and stuff and like the chaos that could ensue inside of Baldur's Gate 3, it's so hard to capture that in a real
For sure.
or from a real RPG, like tabletop RPG, and I feel like they captured it, which was very unique.
Yeah. No, for sure. But I mean, no shade on Baldur's Gate whatsoever. It's just kind of sad that like their competition was Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remastered, Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Wonder, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and Alan Wake 2. You know? Like it was literally a sequel year. Like the only things that were up for
sure.
grabs were sequels, which to me was just kind of
Yeah.
like, man, it just felt like a boring year. And we kind of talked about this on a previous episodes where it's like what's going on in the industry? Like why is it taking us so long to catch back up? But I don't know. Wasn't my favorite.
The year before that was Elden Ring, which I felt like was definitely
That's
a
deserved.
shoe-in, you know.
Yeah, that's deserved
Yeah.
for sure.
Which is, I mean, it is just kind of a sequel of other things, you know, too. It's not necessarily new ideas. The year before that, though, I thought was awesome that it won was It Takes Two. Loved that game.
That's a great game.
Amazing game. Awesome victory. I thought that was such a cool title to win that. I was really rooting for it, and I'm glad that it did win.
Yeah. I'm glad that one won as well. Lots of interesting mechanics, like brought back split screen local play.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool storyline as well, like to kind of explore. Basically, isn't the storyline like it's a divorce going on, and you're kind of playing through?
Yeah.
Basically, marriage counseling.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very interesting game. Very cool. I feel like that's deserved. But bringing it back into like this year, like I don't know, dude. Like, I get the feeling that Black Myth Wukong,
Yeah.
probably gonna be up there just because it's so
It will.
unique.
For sure.
I'm
I'm not a huge fan of the genre of game. I'm not a Souls-like player. I've
Yeah.
never really played through a Souls-like completely, and I don't really feel like I have time to invest into playing into a Souls-like completely. So
Yeah,
it's
like
not my personal choice, but I get it.
I'm with you.
Cool.
Like I'm the kind of person who, if I get into a boss battle and I can do 1 damage, it's like they can bleed. I can beat them.
Yeah.
Like, and then it turns into 4 hours of like trying to figure out the move set, and it's
Yeah.
bad, right? But like that game has been very well received. It's pretty. It's a gorgeous game. So I don't know. Like I feel like Black Myth Wukong is definitely gonna be up there. Helldivers, I believe, deserves at least a spot at the table for what that did.
Yeah.
I feel like Helldivers is a really cool dive into community driven gameplay that has yet to be mastered in such a way. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the whole galactic war and the whole interaction of like what do they call them? Not executive orders. There's the orders things that you can do.
Yeah.
Just really, I feel like gameplay wise, that did something that I don't feel like anyone else has done at the scale that they did. And in spite of all the controversy and everything like that, I feel like that deserves to be recognized. Just the ability they had to weaponize the community against, wave shooter. Not even wave shooter, just NPC horde shooters, right?
Yeah.
So I think it deserves a spot.
I mean,
at the
to
table.
me, it's hard to have like a really good cooperative multiplayer game, and I feel like that was exactly what that is.
Absolutely.
Cooperative multiplayer is not the easiest thing in the world to build, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The couple months that I was playing it was getting up and playing that. So.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I totally can't agree. We had a lot of really fun live streams where we played that, and it's just fantastic game. I think Arrowhead Studios definitely deserves to be recognized for doing something unique. Someone's asking Lethal Company. Was that this year? Did Lethal Company come out this year?
I don't know. Are they just mentioning that as like another thing, kind of like
cooperative? I guess that's kind of in the same area. I
don't think Lethal Company was this year.
I don't think it was. I thought it was last year.
Yeah, October of last year.
Yeah, so that's not in the running at all. And it would never win anyway because it's indie. So.
Well, you say that. There are some indie games that have been nominated in the last couple of years that I really thought had a good shot. I don't know if you remembered Celeste. It lost to God of War, so that's a hard one to beat. Is God of War, but like I feel like there are some opportunities for indies to do decent again and be nominated. I feel like It Takes Two. Yes, it was EA, but
I think it was EA
the same
publishing, right? Wasn't it? Was
it publishing?
I think it was an indie studio that got EA to publish them.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that opened the door for, and there have been indie titles in the past. Didn't let me go walk back and see. Oh no, I thought it won. What's it called?
Space Marine. That's another one.
Yeah, Space Marine is cool.
I could see Space Marine doing well. I don't think it'll win over Black Myth though. Donald Cowie just gave us a pretty good list. There's Space Marine 2, Stellar Blade, Black Myth, Astro Boy, Metaphor.
Astrobot will definitely be up there.
It'll be recognized for sure. Astro Boys, that's a good one.
I did watch a side-by-side comparison of Astrobot mechanics and mechanics from different Super Mario or Mario Brothers games, and it was uncanny. Oh, dude, some of the mechanics looked like they were exactly ripped off from Mario games in the past.
Gotta be careful,
it
PlayStation.
It was so funny.
Nintendo will come for you.
I'd watch the courtrooms on that lawsuit. That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, the average carrot is saying if Celeste had released any other year, it probably would have won. I think that's fair to say.
I loved Celeste. Celeste
really
was one of the best video games I've played in a long time. It made me fall in love with playing video games again.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. I feel like it was a good ode to like, this is a game, and I think that's kind of my problem with like the just award shows in general. Everyone's version of a game is so different.
For sure.
I feel like the awards definitely focus on like this is a good representation of every facet of it, which in my opinion typically leans more towards like this was a big budget that actually pulled it off.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas for me, I like what I said with Helldivers, I like recognizing games that did something that no one did before. I like recognizing the things that are like, this was so unique and the community loved it because it was so unique. I feel like that's a better that should somehow be recognized, is my opinion.
Yeah.
But again,
Well,
that's
you know
my
how
opinion.
you said for like a Souls, like if you fight a big boss and you can do a damage to them, it can bleed or whatever, and you're like motivated to do it.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I'm playing in a platformer and I get to the point where I'm like 1 pixel off of actually landing on the platform that I thought was going to be impossible to get to, and it's like, oh, I can actually make that. And then you have to get like the pixel perfect jump. Like that's my version of that, where I'll sit down and play the same map on a super skilled like
Yeah.
platformer game and try and get there, you know. That's why Celeste was so much fun.
Like that works, right? Like that definitely works. But I feel like that needs to be recognized. I don't know. So
For sure.
it'll be interesting to see this year, like what actually I'm very curious to see, like honestly, what gets nominated. Just because I feel like this is the first time in a long time we've had a very large breadth of what could possibly be nominated. You know.
I have some indie titles for you.
All right, let's hear 'em.
Animal Well.
Animal Well, I'm not
So-
familiar with that one.
Do you know who Video Game Donkey is? He's a YouTuber.
Sounds familiar.
He started a publishing studio this year, or last year maybe, called Big Mode.
Okay.
And Animal Well is the first game that his studio has published.
Very cool.
And the company that made it made their own engine for it. It is beautiful. I've been watching
looks
videos on
nice.
it all day today. Oh man, the sound design is amazing. The physics inside of it is amazing. It is a Metroidvania, but in such a unique way
Okay.
where combat isn't the main focus. It's a platforming, puzzle-solving Metroidvania.
Interesting.
It is really unique and really cool. I have loved it. It is so cool to watch. So I would. It's like $20. That's the other big thing about indies, man.
Yeah.
$20 to play that in such like a beautiful creation that you can just feel the love that somebody put into a game like that is awesome to me. So that's definitely on my list. Plucky Squire is another one that's really cool. Yeah, the Plucky
Okay.
Squire.
Oh,
I
that's
believe it's
fun.
Dude, no, it's beautiful. The art
Love
style is
that.
beautiful, but it's like 15 different genres of video games in one. And I'm not even kidding. Like the first little bit you're playing a 2D platformer and then you jump outside of the book and now you're in a 3D platformer and then it turns into like a fighting game and then they have like an ode to Punch Out and like the
That's cool.
genres just shift throughout the entire game. It's not just one thing. Throughout the entire game, everything is shifting constantly. And like it's a storybook. You're a character inside of a storybook that falls out of his story and you're trying to get back into it so the ending's not ruined. And that's like the entire concept. It is so amazing. Awesome. And I believe it's published by let me see who it is. That one studio that we were talking about last week.
It says producers, Devolver Digital.
Yeah, it is Devolver. It's that thing, man. Published by Devolver
Published
Digital.
by
I have to
Devolver.
check it out.
Based in Austin,
So,
Texas. That's funny.
It's an awesome one.
Okay, that
Another
looks nice.
one, Balatro, one that I feel like kind of revolutionized a new genre of roguelike, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
It's a blackjack roguelike. So
Cool.
yeah, you can buy different types of jokers that have different effects. You can upgrade your cards so that you're constantly hitting 21. You fight bosses that are trying to do different effects on the cards that you can draw. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Really cool. Very unique concept.
Very unique. Love that. Love when indies do that.
And then another one that I was playing, let me find the name of it. I forgot what it was called. Oh, people are saying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is another game of the year. Dude,
Oh, that's right. That came out
a
in
remake
February.
wins, that's gonna be so stupid.
I will be pretty. I don't think it's Is it a remake? I can't remember.
Dude, Final Fantasy VII has been remade before. I don't know if it's a different story from Final Fantasy VII or what, but
Yeah,
I'd just be sad.
I know lots of people were excited about that one, and I don't know. There's a time and a place for those, but at the same time, it's kind of like, geez, there's a $179 version of that. Goodness, pricing is getting out of hand, dude.
Give me the $20 indie game.
Yeah, for real. That's what I love. That's why I absolutely loved that Lethal Company outsold COD for a little while, because it was like,
That's awesome.
it was like a $15 game or something like that at the time. That was like fantastic.
There's one more game I'm thinking of, trying to find it. I remember I saw Penguin Zero was playing it, and it's a game that I've been playing too. So I was excited to see him jumping into it. Let me find it real fast. I have it downloaded on my Mac.
VR chat. If you have any other recommendations for VR or not VR for just game of the year, I'd love to hear them. Send them our way. Stellar Blade. Which one was Stellar Blade? Was that the over sexualized
Stellar Blade's
one?
that's had a lot of controversy around it. I feel like did that come out this year though?
Yes, it did. I think. Yeah, 2024. Yep. Action adventure game. Developed by Shift Up.
Oh yeah, Hades 2 was another one that I was gonna say. I don't know if you've ever played Hades. Great franchise, a lot of fun.
That's the like rogue. That's like the beginning of roguelikes, wasn't it? Of the Hades series?
No, well, I mean, Hades was a popular one recently. Rogue was the beginning of roguelikes.
Right. No, I remember Hades was like the first game that I heard of that was roguelike that I was like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Like the concept,
So,
obviously, before.
Dead Cells is another one that's super popular, and the makers of Dead Cells are actually coming out with a new game soon that I've been watching. That is pretty dope. I'm really excited to see that one.
Pretty cool.
Nine Souls is the one I'm thinking of.
Nine Souls.
It came out in May, and it's a platformer, I believe. Is it a Metroidvania? Yeah, Metroidvania. Soul-like. Beautiful game. Very, very good gameplay. A lot of fun. It's just one of those ones that it's like, yeah, it's a 2D platforming Metroidvania Souls-like. Just a lot of fun. Just all these concepts. Yeah. So I would highly recommend that one as well.
Interesting.
Let me find the one that the Dead Cells people are making, because I added that to my wish list today. Windblown. That one's coming out. That one looks like a lot of fun.
Windblown.
Yep.
That reminds me of the game that I was amazed wasn't even nominated last year at the Game Awards, and it was Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh yeah.
I've been rereading Harry Potter. I feel like every year around spooky season, I'm like, all right, Harry Potter time.
Do Harry Potter. My wife does the same every year.
I just feel like Hogwarts Legacy did such a good job. Again, this is kind of my thing. Like, let's see game developers do something no one else has done. They brought Hogwarts to life unlike anyone else ever could. There's like the secret passageways. There's like the lore and stuff with it. There's just, like what's his name? Peeves the Poltergeist is in it. They did so much like fan favoritism or like fan, what do you call it?
Oh, fan service?
Fan service to Harry Potter fans building that game.
Yeah.
And it was also a fantastic game. It looked good. It played amazingly for the open world that it was. Played great. Had a fun storyline that was like fun to play through. I was truly amazed that didn't get nominated last year.
I didn't play it. So my wife and I had our daughter last year, right?
Right.
And I bought it for her post, like, after the baby was born, when she's bored at the house for a couple months during maternity leave. I bought her Hogwarts Legacy to play.
It's a good one.
She's not a video gamer, but she's a huge Harry Potter person, and she played it for a while. Not being a video game person, it was kind of hard for her to pick up. And I
Interesting.
think they could have probably had like a really lower difficulty to make it very easy for non-video gamers. I feel like that's one of those situations where you would want something like that, like a
For sure.
difficulty where it's just story driven. But she enjoyed it, so I didn't play it a ton, I will have to say.
I played through quite a bit of it. The problem was, what was the game that got me hooked on some other platform? There was a game that I switched over to at the time.
Okay.
That like kind of drove me off of it. It might have been Helldivers, but
No, Helldivers was later.
no, Helldivers was later. You're right. I can't remember, but no, that was another good one that I was like, man, I was ashamed that that didn't get nominated at least,
Yeah.
over like Mario Wonder, like the heck, I don't know.
It's a Mario game, man.
It's a
Mario
Mario
games are
game.
loved.
It is what it is, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
There's
Well-
still some fun games that are coming out this year, I think. I don't know if any of them are Game of the Year nomination worthy, though. I saw a couple.
what else is? I was just gonna ask that. Like, what else is left this year? I don't feel like there's anything that's on my radar other than like the Batman VR game. That is one that I'm looking forward to, and I know a lot of people are kind of disappointed that it's a VR exclusive, but I think it's gonna work really well in VR. I'm excited to play through it.
Yeah. People are saying Black Ops 6.
Right, Black Ops 6. Call of Duty will never be nominated for a Game of the Year though, ever.
Silent Hill 2, which I think I saw somebody playing that today, and it's so dumb. It's such an old school game that they remastered and didn't do anything with. The graphics are awesome, but the whole gameplay is just you hitting somebody in the head with a piece of wood. Like, legitimately, that is pretty much the entire gameplay. Metal Gear Solid Delta, which I know there are a lot of really big Metal Gear fans out there.
Yeah.
I've never really gotten into Metal Gear. Life is Strange Double Exposure. Life is Strange has done well in the Game Awards before. But I've never played it, so.
Can't speak to
And
it
then-
either.
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
That got delayed. That's going to be in 2025
Okay.
now. Which is a problem because then they're going to compete with Ghosts of Yote, which is the
Yeah.
sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. Yoshima?
Yeah.
Yoshima?
I feel like they're Assassin's Creed fans, though, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know. Ubisoft, man, that's a whole thing we could take a time to talk
Talk
about.
about.
That
Yeah.
their stock prices are the lowest they've been in 5 years, which is crazy.
Been a train wreck. Yeah.
And
What did they release recently? I saw
Star Wars
something. It was
Outlaws.
just garbage. Yeah, that's right.
Star Wars Outlaws has been received. It's kind of funny. I get mixed reviews on it. Like I didn't even bother buying it because I was like, this looks terrible, you know. But I've had lots of people, especially in the comment section, say like that they actually enjoyed it, you know. Assassin's Creed, their last one didn't do amazingly well. I think that was Odyssey. And then they released their own shooter, which I actually really enjoy their shooter. It's called X Defiant.
Okay, I've heard of it.
It's a free-to-play, basically Call of Duty substitute, and like I'm kind of all for it. It's actually a really fun shooter. I enjoy it quite a bit. It kind of takes back to like those simpler Call of Duty days when it was just like it was just a gun. Like you just unlocked the gun and grinded through camos. It was, I don't know.
So
it's not
I
bad.
know their storefront has been tanking. That's been a nightmare for them.
They have pushed really hard like their own internal stuff like Ubisoft Plus, and like you have to have an Ubisoft account to play like Rainbow Six. And I know a lot of people are just not for that. As evidenced by like the Helldivers controversy with PlayStation when they required PlayStation sign-in, right?
Yeah.
For Steam players. I don't know why those companies are so adamant on those things. I can only imagine it's the data that they're allowed to collect because of you signing away your soul when you sign up.
Well, there's a lawsuit going on right now saying that they shared a bunch of user data with Meta, so that's
yeah.
good.
As bad as those things are, like we need lawsuits like that to happen in order to like make sure it doesn't keep happening.
The big thing right now is actually Tencent is looking at buying out completely.
Interesting.
Does that
Tencent,
mean,
like Hong Kong based Tencent?
Yep. The
Okay.
TikTok 10 cent and the Pico 10 cent.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that would be the right move. It wouldn't be a bad move. I'm kind of curious where how the direction of the company would change with that ownership. Because Tencent is also they were the main developers of Call of Duty Mobile, which is wildly successful. And I could see them trying to push to get everything working on a mobile platform, which for some games I feel like it would make sense. Rainbow Six Siege, they announced that they're working on a mobile version of that. I feel like that makes sense personally. I don't see anything
I don't
wrong
have a
with that.
problem with those types of games being reworked for mobile. It's not gonna be the exact same game, but I feel like with Riot Games, their League of Legends mobile game that came out,
It works.
they actually did some really cool stuff. They built it in Unity. They did some awesome stuff, and it's actually translated into making things better in League of Legends.
Yeah.
Because of the mobile version of the game. So
I feel like the same thing has happened in Call of Duty Mobile, which again developed by Tencent. They kind of built a really fun free-to-play version of Call of Duty that's not as difficult. It's way more fun, and they have all the maps from all the Call of Duty games ever. That was one of the reasons I got into it, is because they had all the Black Ops 2 maps, they had all the Black Ops 1 maps, they had stuff from World at War and everything like that. So that would be an interesting acquisition.
I remember you played tons of Call of Duty Mobile when we were in college.
Oh, dude, I played ranked Call of Duty Mobile.
Yeah.
And I got stupid good at it. I was up there for a while, cause I don't know what it was, but I could just crank that game, dude. I could run so good in that, but I don't know, man. It was weird. But speaking of other weird game studio stuff, Halo Studios. Did you hear about this?
I did. I think it is really cool. So essentially, was it 303? Is that the name of the
343 Industries.
343. 303 is a band.
Yeah, 343 is a band. 343 Industries took over for Bungie, who was the original creators of Halo. They built a game together, which we now know as Halo Reach, and then everything post Halo Reach was developed by 343 Industries. And in my personal opinion, has been a complete dumpster fire pretty much since then.
For sure.
But they just announced that they are rebranding to Halo Studios, which I think is whatever. It's just rebranding, which I feel like they're okay, 343 has enough flack on us, let's just rebrand. But the cooler thing to me is that they have announced that they have switched Halo over to the Unreal Engine, and they will develop all future Halo games on Unreal Engine. Before, they had built a whole engine called Slipspace, which is what Infinite ran on. Which Infinite was a fine Halo game. I just think they missed their mark on a lot of the free to play aspects of it. The physics. I actually really enjoyed the physics and the gunplay of Halo Infinite, but there was just some user experience design that I was like, what were you guys thinking here with this?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, they basically have said that they're ditching the engine, which I think is great. They're going to be using Unreal Engine from here on out, and they have multiple titles in development. And they're now Halo Studios. So
I think that the rebranding is important because I believe as well there's a restructuring, which is important. I think they're not spending, so they got 500 or what was it? Was it $500 million invested into Slipspace? Is that what it was?
It was some crazy ludicrous amount. Yeah,
and it sucked. Good. So they abandoned it after one game, which is good. So what essentially was happening with them was they were splitting half of their workforce, from half of them working on the engine and half of them working on games.
Right.
So they're trying to create a technology while making video games, and now they can just focus on making video games again.
Yeah.
Which to me is really important.
Yeah.
Just use... And it's so funny. I watched the whole video of them talking about it, right? They're like, we can now focus on textures like we've never been able to before. It's like... Well, you were making the engine.
Cares?
Well, I mean, yes, who cares? Like we've had discussions about graphics and stuff,
Yeah.
but they were so limited in what they could do with the engine that they were making for themselves. That's the funniest thing to me is like they feel like they are now liberated from the tools that they were making. That's how bad the tools were. They couldn't even do what they wanted in the own tools that they were making for themselves.
That's I like see like that alone, like the fact that that has gotten to the surface and has like can be talked about in public. Just I can't even imagine some of the unless you have like 10 years to develop it and a crap ton of funding. Just don't like you can't.
I think yes and no, right?
Sure.
Indie games that like the Animal Well, that one's an own engine that they made for their whole video game. Like if it's a really cool stylized thing and you're just making it exactly how you want to be able to do what you want to do, like more
Sure.
power to you. I think it's
Sure.
really cool. For giant companies or like if they have money to do it, sure. But like I feel like a bunch of engines that were kind of big for a while, like the Crytek engine,
Yeah.
like all that crap is gone too. I feel like nobody's really using any of that stuff. I know Amazon had the Amazon Lumberyard, which was another game engine, and I feel like nobody really uses that anymore. I could be wrong, but um, yeah, just unless you have a very specific reason for building an engine, then just use what is available. Now, I would say that's for just video games in general. There are a lot of companies in WebXR that are making engines right now. Different story, different use case, but yeah, for mainstream video game development at least, like just stick with what's available. It's
Yeah.
probably better than what you're doing anyway.
Yeah, like to rephrase like what I said a little bit better, like Xbox, PC, and PlayStation, the tools are there and they've been there for almost a decade. Like I don't feel like there's any reason to build from the ground up anymore. You know, like I did find it interesting that Helldivers was built on an engine that was discontinued like 10 years ago or something like that. It's like built on Autodesk's game engine that they had. Kind of wild. But yeah, like I have often wondered like who's going to make an XR specific engine because there are specific needs in that area. But at the same time, like Unity or Unreal will get you 90% of the way there. And you can build custom tools in the engine to get you 100% of the way there.
I still think Godot is a really interesting proposition being open source. I think it's really cool. I feel like Meta is investing a lot of money and a lot of like senior level engineers into building out XR tools for Godot right now. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, I have.
I think it's interesting. To me, there is an interesting thing about using an open source engine.
So, okay. So I worked as a Linux system administrator for a long time, for like 2 or 3 years in college. And Linux is an open source software, which is nice in some ways, right? Because like being open source, there's usually lots of resources available to you, lots of customization options, and stuff like that, right? The problem that I found with it, though, was because it's open source, it's extremely vulnerable, right? Because like vulnerabilities are publicly known, and unless somebody in the community patches them, which even if they do patch them, like the patch is known. So it provides a lot of security problems. The company that I worked for actually used an enterprise version of Linux, basically meaning that someone took like a version of Linux and made their own more secure, more reliable version of it, and would basically take in community updates on their own and vet them themselves, and it just made for a lot better, like more secure version of that. So
yeah,
like there's a whole side of game dev that's like not really talked about, and that's like the security side of things. Like SailVR has like we've had some issues with hackers in the past, and so I had to really delve into like encryption and making sure things that are like non-hackable and non-readable values and all this stuff. And if Godot is going to be like the base of the future of VR games, like that's a little bit concerning to me because of how vulnerable that will be at a lot of levels.
I mean, I don't know if it'll ever compete at like this is the thing. I feel like Unity is still the thing for VR, right?
It is.
Even more than Unreal. But just knowing that there's another option out there.
For sure.
And like if you're not building multiplayer experiences, who cares?
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
Which I know VR, a big part of VR is multiplayer, whatever, if you're making those types of games. But it's just nice to have an open source option. I feel like it is important for any technology to have a version that is community driven, because it keeps the companies honest when it comes to like pricing. And because I mean, when Unity did announce that it was increasing prices, people jumped ship and they went to Godot for video games. Like, there's another option. It is important to have that. There were so many people that jumped ship and went to a different thing, not just like VR, but just in video games in general. It is important to have that other thing out there. So,
which is funny because I was in that crowd who, like, obviously, because like we use Unity for sale and hard drive, and so I had to seriously consider like the pricing. I did the math. If we were to switch over to Unreal Engine and have, assuming everything switched over easily, right? Yeah. The amount of money we would have paid Unreal Engine compared to Unity's pricing model was exponentially more. Like, if we're gonna talk about like who's actually charging a hand and foot for like success, it's actually Unreal.
Which they decreased their pricing. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't seen that, but
this week.
I'm glad they did that, because Unity just came out and said that they're no longer going to do the pricing model that they suggested, which I'm really glad for. I think that's great. Yeah. And then, but yeah, no, you're totally right. Like, in the world of economics, you got to have competition in order to drive prices downward. That's just like how it works. And so having a literal free option to press against the rest of them, like, to be able to, at very least, you have to be able to compare to it and be 10 times better. Because if not, it's like, we'll just go to the free version, Can't agree. For sure. Totally can't agree. But no, having Halo on Unreal Engine, I think, is going to lead to a lot of just like quicker iteration times. And like they said, they have multiple titles in development, Yeah. Which I'm super happy about. I'm really, really hoping for an ODST knockoff of Helldivers. That's just like my dream Halo game right now. I would love to see that. I think it would work so well. But we'll see.
One of the other cool things I think about, like using something like Unreal for a real AAA studio, is the hiring process of like getting a job there or working on their stuff is more accessible to a lot of people. Yeah. Like, I can't imagine trying to learn a new engine to work on a specific thing for a company. I know a lot of people do, and I know that's something that is kind of normal, but I feel like the people who have skill in Unreal are more valuable now because they're using Unreal, know?
Yeah. It's interesting because we just hired on a contractor to work on the hard drive game that we have. Mm-hmm. And he was an Unreal Engine developer, and he's now switched over to Unity. And it's kind of interesting, number one, to like watch him get adjusted to Unity from Unreal. Yeah. Because it is a process, like he learned all of his game dev stuff in Unreal. And it also, like, as like the person who hired him, like, I have to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, like, he needs a few weeks at least to be able to be familiar with the tools. Like, I can't expect the output I'm expecting of like my full-time employees who've been working here for 3 months. Because there's a process to it. But yeah.
Well, as somebody that jumps between engines very regularly for WebXR stuff, it is always a mind trip to jump back and forth. Like, I'll spend 3 weeks working in one platform and then jump into another platform again and totally forget stuff, and it takes me like 2 or 3 days to readjust. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Someone in the chat is asking if Sail will ever go from Unity to Unreal Engine. Not in the foreseeable future. Just because, first and foremost, Unreal's support of VR is still spotty at best. The companies I know who are working in VR in Unreal Engine are, like, they have to do a lot of custom tools to even get it working. So until their VR support is better, I don't plan on switching over. There's a lot of things about Unreal Engine that are very appealing to us. Namely, there's a lot of encryption tools and stuff, like, because it's C++ based. Because it's C++ based, it is much harder to hack and to edit, just because C++ is a nightmare to code in. But yeah, anyway.
I think Unreal has things going for it.
For sure.
And I think Unity has things going for it. I've always said Unreal is the artist's game engine and Unity is the developer's game engine.
I agree.
The fact that you can generate worlds so easily in Unreal is probably very interesting to a company like, Red Team 19 that's making an open world game. But like personally, I would never want to jump into Unreal. I just don't care for the things that it offers me. To me, having something like the Unity Asset Store as a developer is way more valuable than having something like the awesome textures and rendering things that you can do inside of Unreal.
Yeah.
So all of it has its trade-offs, and I know some things are way more appealing to others than they are to me. So
yeah, that's always been my problem. I've seen lots of stuff on Unreal Engine that I'm like, that would be interesting to mess around with, but then I realize I could probably dink around in Unity with something similar. Like a big one, MetaHumans, that's one that I've always been very interested in. That's a really cool tech thing that they have over on the Unreal Engine. But as I looked into it, I was like, you know what? I could get this working, or at least something very similar, in Unity if I really wanted to, And
you know what it really was? I feel like MetaHumans were really cool, but that's just a tech demo. Like I've never seen anybody really use it.
Yeah, there's like a few cutscene things. The cool thing that I keep seeing in Unreal Engine that I think is really cool is like real-time motion capture. There's a lot of VTubers doing cool stuff with Unreal Engine that I find interesting as a sort of wannabe VTuber myself. But other than that, but even then, like I keep thinking, like I think like, oh, it's so cool that they can capture like face motion and stuff, and I'm like, I've seen the code base for that in Unity. I could get that working if I really wanted to. It's just not
you could get that working with Snapchat, dude. There's so many other tools that are so good for it now.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's, it's just not. Yeah, as a developer, I think you put it perfectly. Like Unreal is the artist like engine, and Unity, if you know code at all, you'll be much happier in Unity.
I just hate node-based scripting and I hate C++, so that kind of all turns me off to Unreal.
Yeah, but that's super beginner friendly. Like for people who didn't learn how to code, node-based coding is very user friendly. And yeah, like C++, if you can avoid that in your life, you will live much happier than we had to in our CS classes. Dude, my gosh, dude.
Never
again.
Don't scare me with those stupid classes, man. Those things are nightmares I still have.
This is an interesting question from Donald Cowie. Which developer toolset is better for quick turnaround of game development as an outsider looking in?
Quick turnaround? It depends what you want to build.
See, this is where I feel like Unity kind of has a one-up on the Unreal Engine a little bit, because there's the asset store, Yeah. Like, for sure. Like, Sail VR for the longest time was 90% built off of what's called the BNG framework. Yeah. Like, we built everything based off of this, it's called the Virtual Reality Interaction Framework, and it was fantastic. We got 90% of the way there, could customize it where we wanted to, and it was just it was like a $60 asset we bought on the Unity Asset Store, So I would say, like, in that sense, the Unity Asset Store has a huge leg up on Unreal, because Unreal, while they have really cool tools, their tools have to be vetted by the official Unreal team, which means there's less of them, but the tools they do have are good. So I would say that 100% Unity has the better tool set, personally speaking.
Yeah, and to me, like, if you're wanting to build something fast with a really quick turnaround for a newbie, you need support in tutorials as well. And I just feel like the amount of resources that are available for Unity are unmatched. The community for Unity is just so strong.
It's huge.
It's hard for me to recommend anything else, just because I know, like, you have so many years of Brackeys tutorials that you can go back. Like, those are still so valuable if you want to do XR. There are creators like Dilmer or like Valum or Justin Barnett that are making content to teach people how to develop things. Blackthorn Prod, like, I don't know, there's so many different tools. And then if you want to just do visual scripting as well, there's so many visual scripting tools and assets that you can buy that turn Unity into a very powerful visual scripting tool,
Yep.
You can get all the same things. Playmaker is the one that I think of, that are basically like Unreal Engine, but inside of Unity. So
Well,
I don't
and
know.
like even on the artistic side of things, like there are literal like hundreds of thousands of assets on the Unity asset store that can get you almost
Hmm.
everything you need for like your game. You know, like you want to do a
Yeah.
zombie game, there's zombie packs out there. You want to do a fantasy game, you could get like entire worlds practically built by other people, and you just pay them like $20, and that's it. Like if you had to pay a contractor the same, like to do the same amount of work as what's in one of those Unity asset store packs, you'd be paying them thousands of dollars. You know. So, yeah.
There was a game that was super popular recently. Let me find it really fast. It was a horror game, and it was based off of Thomas the Train.
Choo Choo
It's
Charles.
called Choo Choo Charles,
Yep, by
and
One
all of
Star
those
Studios.
assets were just 3D models that he got, and then just took the textures and retextured them. Like they were pre-existing assets, and then he just went and drew over on top of them, and then re-put them on the 3D model. And those are all of the assets that he used for the entire game, and he made multiple millions of dollars doing it.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
he's working on a new game actually. He just announced
that
it.
looks dope.
It looks
It's the prison escape
yeah,
multiplayer game.
that looks
Oh my gosh.
really fun. I'm excited for
Yeah.
that. It's not getting as much hype because I don't know why. Like Choo Choo Charles was like so easy to market for him because it was such a stunning like picture. Like you saw a train with a face that looked like a spider, and you were just like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
what is
What the
this?"
fuss?
Yeah, but his new game, I've noticed like he's had a harder time getting as many views, but it looks so fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for him. He's a really cool developer.
He needs to hire somebody like Danny to make devlogs for him, because that's really to me, that's what it is that he's missing.
He does a pretty good job, but Danny, like, dude, the amount of work that Danny had to put into those videos,
Oh, for
I
sure.
can only imagine. Which freaking Danny, come back, bro! Like, we need you. Holy crap!
He's
that
probably
guy-
like a cybersecurity professional somewhere.
dude. Who knows? Um, I every once in a while I check back in because every once in a
Yeah.
while on YouTube people will make like, "Where is Danny?" Because it's been 4 years now, I think.
I didn't realize it's been that long. That's nuts.
It's like it's 3 or 4 years since he released his last video was the crab game video
Yeah.
that he made.
I
But
played the heck out of that too.
it's fun. I jumped back into Muck the other week.
Muck.
That game is fantastic. Like
Yeah.
he is a fantastic developer, and he made a VR game. And did you ever play it?
The Among Us one?
No.
Or the one where you're
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 giant
killing
you're-
all the cavemen?
Yeah, you're basically a Titan from like
Yeah.
Attack on Titan, but you're like the people attacking you. It was fun. Like he did a good job with it. So I miss that guy. We gotta bring him out of retirement because man, gotta get Carlson. Dude.
Donald did say something interesting. Is you hear games like every once in a while is like 6 to 7 to 10 year development lifespan. You know, that's too long. I
Yep.
100% agree. Tell him how long it took you to make Hard Drive, dude.
Hard drive we developed in 1 month.
Yeah.
We built it in 4 weeks.
So the people that are making games in 10 years, it's either like Naughty Dog making the first, what was it called?
Last of Us.
Last of Us, or somebody remaking like Red Dead Redemption. Like it's that quality of game, or it needs to be that quality of game for it to justify 10 years, or they just have terrible organizational skills, and it's in an organization where people just keep on getting fired and they have to remake a bunch of stuff, which happens too. So those huge AAA titles take a while to make.
Yeah.
Those are very long.
It's like I do love the memes, or it's like things we got before GTA 6, right? And it's like all the technological advancements that have happened since they
Yeah.
started working on it. It's a good one.
It's
Good
so
meme.
funny.
Good meme, internet. Good job.
I didn't know
don't
Danny 2 was still active.
I don't think it is. I have checked on
Oh,
it.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more recently, but I don't know. I listened to an interesting observation by someone of a possibility, where they were saying like there's this thing called exit velocity in kind of just like finances in general. Where basically, at some point, you're making enough money, or you've made enough money, that you don't need to do anything else, right?
Yeah, why would you want to?
Right. And he made so much money off of Crab Game. Like, it's very possible that he was just like, I am done, you know? And he just decided to have a peaceful life, you know?
What did he make money off of?
In Crab Game, there was cosmetics that you could buy.
Oh, really? That's what it was?
Mm-hmm. But also, like,
Crazy.
his YouTube channel, like, all of his videos have, like, 100 million views or something like that. Not 100 million. It's, like, 10 million views per video. Like, the ad revenue from that alone probably is more than enough to keep him going, you know?
It makes me wonder, why do YouTubers keep going? Like, the big ones that have so many subscribers and stuff? Like, why?
It's interesting. I listened to Markiplier's podcast. It's called Distractable. And he's obviously been working on his movie of Iron Lung, which is such a fascinating thing that he loved a game so much that he's making a movie out of it.
I didn't know that.
But one of the things he talks about is, like, for him at least, it's all about just, like, the creation of content, right?
Yeah.
Like
Which I get that for some people.
Yeah, but, like, you know, it's not for everyone. There was a little while ago, remember, where, like, I feel like a lot of YouTubers quit. Like, Matt Pat decided he was done. There was a bunch of other ones who were kind of like, yeah, it's time, you know? So.
No, I agree. I mean, I get that drive, right? I'm essentially a XR content creator right now, not building YouTube videos, but actually building games and stuff in XR for different companies that are paying me to make stuff for their engines. And, like, I get the desire to make content. And, like, if I could find a job right now where I could just make sample projects and games for people that I wanted to make, like, of course that'd be dope. But if I was making like $1 million and I finished a game and it was like, I'm gonna take a 2-month hiatus, you know, I for sure do that. Whereas I feel like some of these guys are making so much money and just never taking breaks.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had lots of people ask me in the past, like, you know, if tomorrow someone came and bought Sail VR from you, you know, for whatever ludicrous amount of money that would take to buy it from you, like, what would you do next? And, like,
make something else.
Exactly. That's the thing, is, like, I would make another game studio, you know? Yeah. I would build something else. I have more games I want to build. I have more stuff that I want to make, you know? Like, I wouldn't stop. So, I don't know. Like, someone mentioned in chat that it was probably because of burnout that Danny, like, stopped. And there's something there for sure. Like, I have definitely felt burnout at times, but you can get through it. I don't know.
He's not American too, you know.
Norwegian.
And I feel like Americans have, like, this drive and
got grit,
desire
baby,
to just work. Well, I don't know how healthy it is. I don't know if it's good or bad, but they just want more. Whereas, like, legitimately, I feel like in other countries, not needing all of that is something that they possess, and they're very happy with getting something and then just being done.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Danny's still making stuff. He could be. He could just be making what he wants to make, though, and he doesn't care about sharing it with anybody. Like, that to me is ultimate freedom, right? You still got to make everything you want to do, but you don't have to prove it to anybody. You're just doing it for you.
Yeah. No, there's definitely something to that, for sure. Because, like, you know, like, Hard Drive is, like, a perfect example of this. Like, Hard Drive is a game that I really wanted to make. Like, I have been dreaming of, like, a Tron-like VR game for a really long time. And we built it. We built it in a month. It was super fun. But it's actually, like, truth be told, it's not doing super well as far as, like, you know, sustaining itself. Like, it's doing fine. But compared to, like, what Sail is doing right now, like, Sail is not only, like, super fun to play and to make, but it's also, like, it's doing very well financially. And so it's been hard to dedicate any dev time over to our Hard Drive game, because, like, while it's kind of, like, one of the games that I've wanted to see for a long time, it's just kind of becoming, like, more of a financial burden to keep running. Not to say that we're shutting it down anytime soon or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but, like,
we just hired a new developer, you said, right?
Yeah, like, we have a contractor who we basically are having do all these things that need to be done for our Hard Drive, because the main team has to focus on Sail in order to keep, you know, putting food on the table, right? Like, that's just kind of just the way it goes. So it is hard, man.
And that's the nice thing about having a small studio, right? You built hard drive, and maybe in its current state, it's not producing the way you want it to, but you can figure out different things to do. Like, if it is something that is experimental and you still like the idea, like, there's definitely things that you can figure out how to do to pivot it into something that other people want to play.
No,
And
exactly.
that's really important to have, like, that desire to continue to have it grow, but also that adaptability to make it into what people want it to make or
Absolutely.
want it to be. I have worked at a company before. I'm not going to say the company. I'm not going to say the game or anything, but I feel like they made a game and just kept on banging their head against the wall, saying this is what it needs to be and this is what we're going to make, and people are going to love it because we love it,
Right.
and this is what we want to do. And
It's
I
not.
don't know how well it's doing. Obviously, I don't work there anymore. I don't, but um like from an outsider looking in, it just seems like if maybe they would have taken some more community input and tried out some other things and changed it to be what the community wanted, it probably could be doing a lot better than it is, you know?
Yeah.
Not saying that it's a not successful game or anything. I don't know. I don't know any of the metrics on it, but I just feel like you have to be able to adapt. And being
Yeah.
in a small studio and, you know, being honest with yourself, saying, hey, this isn't performing. What can we do to keep iterating on it to make it better is such an important skill. So,
Well, and also, I mean, like bigger studios as well have this pressure where it's like, look, to stay alive, we need kind
yeah,
of ridiculous amounts of cash. The beautiful thing about like where like Red Team Interactive is at right now is that like we don't require that much to keep going every
yeah,
month, you know, and so that means at least on our side of things, we don't have to shove promotions down people's throats to get them to buy because we're not desperate for it, you know.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
I that has been one of my big things about getting into the game industry that I've been passionate about is like I'm not gonna let I don't ever want to have that pressure to the point where I'm no longer making a game because of financial responsibilities. I want to stay like mean and lean really. And like I like community feedback is really important to me. That was something I've done from the beginning is I've made
Oh,
YouTube
for
videos
sure.
and responded to comments and tried to get like everyone who's in the Discord for sale knows like we are like at least once or twice a week we put out a poll asking for opinions on mechanics or stuff in the game because we're just trying to figure out like what works, you know? So
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these people in this chat won't really remember the early days of Sail, but I mean, I was there with you in the lab watching you put a rowboat on water and trying to see if you could navigate a boat, and then like posting a video of it and saying, "Hey, here's a boat on water. Do you guys want a video game?" And it's like, "Yeah, do
yeah,
it." And then
yeah.
you put something on side quest, and then every step of the way, it was like, "Hey, should we do this?" And you're asking your Discord or side quest. I mean, I remember how involved you were with all of those communities through the entire thing. And I feel like probably the darkest time in sale and the hardest time in sale was probably when you didn't maybe have as much control and you were working with other people that kind of tried to go their own way instead of listening to the community. And then when that was done, you were able to take it back and make it into what the community wanted again, you know?
Yeah,
So
there was definitely a part. I really need to make a video like explaining because there's a lot of stuff that happened that a lot of people don't know
yeah,
about. But like, yeah, there was definitely you're totally right. Like the scariest time for me for sale was when it was like it was no longer sale. It was no longer what I wanted, and it took a lot of like I literally had to go back to being a solo dev again to get it back to where I wanted it to be and rebuilt the company from scratch, basically saying like this is what this is gonna be like, you know, this is how the game is, and if you're not on board with the vision, then you got to get out, you know. And you know,
yeah.
like again, like the people I were working with, they're doing their job, they're trying to keep to deadlines and stuff, but that therein was the problem, you know, is like those external forces made it so that the game that was trying to be the game was not at all what it was supposed to be. But someone's
Quasar,
asking
to
if
answer
you,
your question. Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
someone's
did
asking
not
if you
help
did
with
help.
sale. No, Garrett and I worked on a bunch of other things before he started working on sale. So I think when he really buckled down and put a lot of effort into sale, I was already working as a contractor for the company that I worked for out of college. So we built like 2 or 3 prototypes together before sale. One of them is still available on SideQuest called Self Aid Arcade. Who knows if it works?
I think it
But
still does.
really, yeah, we built some fun stuff together early on. If you want to see the freaking start of sale, the start of Garrett's career, look up the BYU Mixed Reality Lab
The Elemental VR.
on YouTube, and there's a video called Elemental VR. Yeah, where literally all we could figure out how to do was put a thing that spawned fireballs on a controller and shoot them at a target that was programmed to go back and forth. That was both of our first dives into VR.
Yep.
And it was hilarious. And like, to tell you guys how far back that was, it doesn't feel like that long ago. It was 6 years ago. Yeah, at this point,
Holy
we're
crap.
almost pushing on 6 years. We've been working in this industry for 6 years, Garrett. We are semi-veterans at this point.
I should definitely have a better salary at this point. What the heck?
Yeah, me too.
No, it's fine.
But
that's crazy. 6 years? Has it really been 6?
Well, think about what we used. There wasn't an Oculus rig. We had to build a rig from scratch.
Steam, at the time, Steam VR was the only one that had the semblance of a rig.
Yeah.
And even that was risky. Oh, gosh.
There's no way to preload in a rig for virtual reality in Unity at that point. We had to figure out how to build a rig from scratch and build in controls from scratch. We had to figure out how to take in a button click. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I do, because that's how I figured out how to program the fireballs. Is I literally was like on an update loop listening for whether or not the trigger pull was true.
Yeah.
And I ran into the problem that like if the trigger pull is true, I would just like spray fire and crash the machine. And so I had to figure out how to be like, okay, wait until it was such bad code. Like I'm just thinking of it and just cringing. But no, like I mean, we were talking earlier about like the tool sets and stuff that like are available now. It is so easy to get into VR game development nowadays, and like just game development in general. Like, amazing.
The last VR game I made was Self-8 Arcade, so like I can't even imagine jumping in right now and just playing around with what is available. Like I stay up to date with it a little bit, but I haven't really built anything in Unity since then, and I'm sure I could jump in and probably pick some stuff up pretty quickly with what's available now. You know.
I'm sure it would be like a welcome relief to you, especially since you've been building so much stuff from scratch, to just be able to be like, oh, this component just exists. You can access. You were telling me the other day that someone didn't have text in a game, like 3D placeable
There's
text.
no UI.
There's no UI elements.
There's no 2D placeable text.
That's right.
Control where you were putting 2D text on a mobile phone. So I had to create all of the assets in 3D and place them in 3D space nested to the camera, so that they would show up as text in a 2D screen. So instead of just clicking on a 2D button, you're actually shooting a raycast at a 3D object and then clicking it by shooting a raycast at a 3D object.
That's such garbage, dude. Like, that's just one of those things that just should exist. Oh, man. That is crazy, dude. 6 years, yeah. We are kind of veterans at this point. It's like it's like we're like qualified to talk on a podcast about things that are practically reality.
Yeah, but I'm still like 15 years old, so whatever.
Emotional maturity of 12-year-old, baby.
I mean, I spent a couple hours this weekend pulling digital Pokemon cards from a video game, so.
Hey, I mean, I stayed up till 4 a.m. playing Call of Duty, trying to get one win. Just trying to get one win. Couldn't end on a loss.
I did that. I played a little bit of League of Legends the other night. Did the same thing. You can never end on a loss. And then it's like, man, that was such a good victory. We should do it again.
Surely we could do it twice.
Your child will be waking up at 7 a.m. You have to go to sleep.
Who needs sleep? Who needs sleep? Oh, man. I've got the CellVR devs messaging me right now about something that's going to be happening in the Cell event for Halloween, and it looks beautiful.
Is it a skeleton kraken? Guys, just so you know, I have no insider knowledge about Cell, so I'm just as in the dark as you are with everything that's going on.
Nah, okay. So, to give all the Cell fanboys here a little spoilers.
And girls.
To give all of you fairy tale things a spoiler into what we got going on in this. So, CellVR is getting a Halloween event. It's going to be a community-driven event, which I'm really excited about. And we're testing out the mechanics of it this morning. But if the event is there is a fail state and there is a success state of this event. And if the community is able to get the success state, there are some pretty sweet rewards for the success state that I'm pretty stoked about.
Taking a copy out of Helldivers, huh?
A little bit. Might be a bit Helldivers inspired, perhaps.
That's cool.
We'll see. Just have to stay tuned, guys. We'll just have to stay tuned. But one of our devs is putting the rewards into the game right now, and he's messaging some pictures of what it's gonna look like, and it's like,
ooh,
so I'm talking
some
about
cosmetics. I remember. Do you remember the early days of Sail, the first demo where if you were the first person to beat the first map, you found the skeleton thing, you got your name in. Yeah, there was like the exclusive treasure chest that had the person's name on it.
Yep. I had a lot of fun with that.
Being part of an event like that where if you participate, you receive a cosmetic that will never be available to anybody else again is so cool to me. I always have loved that concept.
So that is one of the fun things about Steam, that Steam actually enables way better than anyone else. Steam has this whole economy functionality built into like their storefront where you can create items that people can literally trade between each other, and there's rarities to them and stuff, and you can put them in your game, and it's all done through Steam though. So it's like it's kind of something that the developer doesn't really have to worry about other than creating like the cosmetic. And I have wanted to put that into sale, but the problem is we're a cross-platform game, so we can't have it exist on Steam but not on Meta. And that's been a problem because I would love to implement some kind of trading system into sale, but the amount of dev time it's going to take us to try to figure that out is just not worth it at the time.
It's crazy, man. That's some things that like huge MMORPGs. I remember when was it Diablo 2 came out or Diablo 3, they had the auction house.
Yep.
And you were able to sell in-game things, and it just ruined the entire video game for some people. It's a hard thing to get right.
It really is.
But you want to hear something funny about those Steam cosmetics that you're talking about?
Which ones, Danny's?
No, just in general, like the things that you can have in Steam.
Oh, yeah.
You can resell. So I had a friend in college whose dad worked on, what was the name of the game? It was one of the original battle royales before Battlefield.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, what was the name of the game?
I'll find it.
It wasn't Apex. It was like Apex though, like Apex.
H1Z1.
H1Z1. That's it.
Yeah. His dad was a developer at H1Z1, and H1Z1 had some huge tournaments where the people that won the tournament won a skin. They're like global tournaments and stuff that were going on, and that was the only way to get the skin. But his dad always gave his son the skins for H1Z1. So anytime there was a huge tournament and there were exclusive cosmetics, his son always got an exclusive cosmetic from H1Z1. And he didn't really even play it that much. So he would go to the Steam marketplace and sell the cosmetic. And that's how he paid for like all of his fun things in college, was by selling exclusive cosmetics from H1Z1 when it was really big.
That's hilarious, actually.
Yeah. He would sell cosmetics for thousands of dollars.
Oh, it is wild how much some of that stuff goes for. I've seen stuff that sells for like hundreds of dollars on Steam, and I'm just like, why? What?
And like,
it's cool though.
People hate NFTs, but to me, that's like NFTs are going to be a part of video games eventually in some form. It's not going to be called an NFT, but there's no way that like blockchain type stuff doesn't integrate in eventually with that kind of an idea, you know?
Yeah, no, I've had this conversation a lot of times because for whatever reason, whenever you go to like a conference or whatnot, that's like future tech, or especially with investors, NFTs, VR, and crypto are all put right at the same table for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I've had so many conversations with crypto bros and NFT freaks, like, and they're always like, bro, you should put an NFT in your game. And I'm like, first off, you utter the word NFT near a gamer and you will be strung up by your toes. Like, they hate it. But I always tell them the technology behind it, that's good stuff. I totally agree with you. Eventually, like, the concept of NFTs, the blockchain, the ability to own something digitally and verify that you own it will 100% make its way into
Yeah.
like especially RPGs and MMOs. Makes total sense. But until they can figure out a namesake that doesn't immediately turn gamers off to it, never gonna happen. You know?
For sure. And I don't know. I feel like I haven't been invested in the crypto world in a couple of years. I went to OpenSea the other day to buy an NFT because I was doing an event where you could use Ready Player Me models for the event. It was a VR thing, and Ready Player Me is a pretty standard web avatar system now that you can use.
Yep.
But there were NFTs that were integrated into Ready Player Me at one point. One of them was Deadmau5, the artist. He created a bunch of heads. He created like 555 Deadmau5 heads that were all PFP NFTs that were integrated into Ready Player Me. So if you own a Deadmau5 head, there were only 555 of them that could be integrated into Ready Player Me. So if you owned it, you could use the Ready Player Me head inside of anything that you had it attached to. So I was doing this event. I was like, I wonder how much these things cost now. And I went on to OpenSea to look at it, and it was like $50. So I seriously considered for probably like 5 minutes whether or not if I wanted to buy it, just to put it on my Ready Player Me guy to flex on everybody at the thing that I was speaking at. I decided not to. But the purchasing process for it is so much easier now than it was when I remember being more into it. Like, you can just use your debit card and then you'll get a wallet assigned to you. You don't have to use all these crazy like third-party wallet tools, and I don't know. There's so much user experience that needs to go into crypto for it to work well. But again, like you said, it will eventually be a big part of a lot of different things, just not yet.
No, and like we've talked about how like more and more the world is going to go online. Like, you know, augmented reality, like especially the Orion glasses that are coming up. Like that's going to be even more so need for things like blockchain to be able to be like, hey, like, do you actually own this? Is this your digital like ID? Like, your digital footprint needs to have some kind of identification behind it. I actually know a couple of startup guys who are working on exactly this, and you're right, it's so much easier now. But again, it's kind of a branding thing. I feel like NFTs and crypto has had so many like scams and whatnot associated with them that no one trusts it. It's just not gonna ever happen until, you know.
Yeah, crypto will have its same state that I feel like XR is in right now, where it crashed, and then there'll be people that stick around because there are a lot of people that are still sticking to that industry.
Absolutely.
And I feel like AI is going to do the same thing. AI is going to level out eventually, and then people are going to start hyping it up. Yeah, and then we'll move on to something else. Hopefully, right now, maybe it's XR again. Like, let's get rid of AI and jump back into XR.
I like truly after seeing Meta's demo of the Orion glasses, I would be terrified if I'm Apple or Google or like any of the like phone developer companies, because that is what's going to replace phones. Like, Apple at their next, like, they need to come out with something to match Orion before they go to market with it, or, you know, like, they're going to be playing from behind.
It's crazy to think that there's a world that exists where there are Orion glasses, even though they're, you know, expensive, and there's a world where there's Microsoft HoloLens 2s. The space between those two products is a freaking valley, dude. It's huge.
Like,
so,
but that also goes to show like priorities, right? Like, Microsoft did not invest the proper amount of R&D into the HoloLens. They found a form factor that was fine, and a tech stack that was fine, and they kind of ran with it. Whereas Meta has put billions of dollars into their, you know, reality labs that has created some of the best VR and AR tech that is available. And like, we're starting to see the fruits of that tech, you know, on all levels. They have done user experience design research. They have done computing research. They have done graphics research. Like, everything out there points to them, like, putting the money where it was supposed to go, you know? So, but you're right. Like, to compare those two and just be like, anyway, absolutely wild.
Well, we've been going for, I mean, freaking.
This has been a long one, boys. We've gone on. Yeah. We should probably.
If you guys like this format of podcast a little bit better, where it's a little bit less like scheduled, I guess I wouldn't say we do scheduled podcasts, but we have like more defined topics and stuff. If you guys kind of like more of this riffing concept, this idea, let us know. you have any other types of things that you would like to see or hear, let us know. I've had a lot of people volunteer to be a guest on our podcast.
Oh, let's
I don't
go.
know if people would enjoy that kind of stuff, but we do have the opportunity to do that kind of stuff if you think it'd be interesting. Lots of different, very technical people, or we could probably get other, video game people on here too. So
Yeah.
you guys have any ideas, let us know. And I think we're going to try and get onto the official Practically Reality YouTube channel next week.
Yep. We're going to try some tech magic. Prepare for technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a podcast. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No, I
But check
definitely
us
enjoyed
out
this.
on... Oh, go ahead. Yeah, it was a good time.
It was a lot of fun to interact with you guys more, the crowd. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll
And
try to incorporate that more.
if you haven't already, did you say you have a Discord already up for this?
I don't have
Or
a
are
Discord
you
for Practical Reality. There's a YouTube channel up and running. Go over, check it out. Practically Reality. The Practically Reality podcast on YouTube. Go subscribe to us there. You can also find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts if you want to catch the audio version of this later. And as always, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we are live here on YouTube. And hopefully next week we will be live on Declan's channel, my channel, and the Practically Reality podcast channel simultaneously. So that will be, we'll see if we can pull it off. We're going to try some tech magic.
Excited for it.
Anyway, any last questions from chat before we sign off this week? We've got someone saying the Xbox.
We should, on your Discord,
create
sorry.
No, go for it.
Just a channel. Like a thing for Practical Reality on your Garett the Gamer.
I'll do that
Discord.
right now. I'll create
That's easy.
Podcast topic recommendations.
See if people are interested enough in that to start our own server. Sorry, I interrupted.
All good, all good.
Just a thought that came through my head.
I will make a podcast topics channel. It is created. Garett the Gamer's Discord, which the link to that should be in the description of this one, is now has a channel for podcast topics. So if you guys have something you'd like us to talk about, just gonna make a little note in here. Tell us what you want us to talk about in the podcast. Okay, it's created. Got any suggestions? Go join the Discord. Links in the description. And you can tell us ideas for the podcast right there. It's a good one. Yeah, so someone was saying that Xbox J Allard has joined Amazon? What does that mean?
The father of Xbox.
J Allard. Amazon. Xbox co-founder Jay Allard has joined Amazon to work on new ideas.
Interesting.
I'm neither here nor there on that. I think people sometimes forget that part of co-founding a company, there's lots of different sides of that. There's the financial side, there's the marketing side, there's the technical side. I don't know enough about this guy to say which side he is and to speak to what that means for Amazon. But Amazon has a lot of kind of secretive stuff in the works, and they are the type of company that would not surprise me if they came out with something bigger. So
I feel like they have their game studio. They haven't done anything crazy good with it yet. I know they've had some interesting titles and things go through it, and a couple of flops, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they're still putting money into it and still experimenting and bringing people on is pretty interesting. So could be cool.
They have a fantastic cloud gaming service, actually, that I just discovered. Comes free with Amazon Prime, so if you're a Prime subscriber, you should check it out.
Yeah.
I think they call it Luna Cloud Gaming. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I was going to mention that. We talked about Stadia for a while one day.
We did.
And Luna honestly seems like it could be the next evolution of that concept. So we'll see. It's kind of under the radar.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. It's free if you have Amazon Prime. So if you don't have a high budget PC or a station, you should at least go look at it. It's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
What else? What else we got here?
We can end with 597 Game Slayer, his last, or K97
Oh,
Game Slayer.
what's the number one console?
What is your number one console?
Oh. Wait, I'll let you answer this one first.
I mean, I'm a nostalgic guy. Nothing will ever beat the joy and like love that I have every single time I play a Nintendo 64 game again. Playing Star Fox 64, Donkey Kong 64, Mario 64, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Those are the games that really defined a lot of the things that I love and my interest in the video game world. Like, my whole passion for everything was probably founded on Super Mario 64 and the Ocarina of Time. So it would be hard for me to say anything would ever pass up those. I still, to this day, regret selling my Nintendo 64. I've been looking at buying another one. The problem is the one that I had was actually a super rare limited edition Nintendo 64.
Oh, no!
It's the transparent green, jungle green Nintendo 64.
Oh, that's such a cool one.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Exactly what you're talking about. Oh my gosh.
So it's expensive to get again, but I will buy another one again, and I will buy a bunch of those classic games that I grew up playing. My wife and I we went on a date last week to an arcade, and we played Mario Party 2 on
nice.
We played it on the Switch emulator, but it made me so nostalgic for just the feel of that controller in my hands. Like, I don't know what it was. It was a crappy controller, but man, it feels just so good. I miss just feeling that and playing with those chunky graphics. If I somehow fell into a ton of money and could do whatever I wanted, you know how you're saying you'd make another studio? I would make a studio that remade Nintendo 64 games, and I would make custom Nintendo 64 games now and resell them in cartridges.
That'd be so sick.
Oh, that'd be dope.
That'd be crazy. That'd be cool. All right, if I'm going to have to say what my number one console is... Oh, man... There's so many things that pull me in different directions when it comes to the console question, right? Because, like, I have the nostalgia console, right? The Xbox 360 was the console that, like, I literally started designing. I didn't realize this, but I found my notebook from when I was a kid. I started designing video games when I was, like, 12 years old. Like, I started writing down ideas for game ideas and game loops, and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing, but I was actually critiquing games that I played and how I would make another one. And was actually, like, basically doing what I do now professionally, like game design. And so, like, the Xbox 360 and the games that I played on there were the games that originally got me into that. So, obviously, like, I love it for that. But at the same time, like, I love what the, like, Nintendo Switch has pulled off. And, like, what the Nintendo Wii did. And, like, the GameCube. And, like, even like, the Nintendo 64. Like, there's some games on there that just can never be replicated because the form factor was so different and everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I like if I have to say one, I'd probably say the 360 just for the nostalgia factor, right? The Xbox 360 is definitely there, but holy crap, man! Like I do have a thing for like all the things that Nintendo does, just because I feel like they do stuff that no one else does or tries. I love it.
Isn't that crazy? Nintendo freaking, like, PlayStation and Xbox just sit and compete with each other all the time, but Nintendo is just in a league of its own.
Nintendo sits on a throne just watching them.
Yeah.
I try to emulate that with the character I have for him on my shorts, because like he's just kind of this older, wiser, better guy who's just like, why are you guys bickering? Because there's
room for all of us.
Exactly. It's funny. It's funny.
None of you will be as good as me, but there's room for all of us.
Exactly. Well, there you go, boys. Declan's is a Nintendo 64, mine Xbox 360. And that is how we will sign off for today. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Remember, you can catch us on all the podcast places. And tune in next week at 1 p.m. Pacific time, where we will be live again here on YouTube. And hopefully on all of the places where you should find us. So, we will see you guys later. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.